The sky above the small town was clear, the kind of deep blue that made the stars invisible until night fell. People went about their lives, unaware that something extraordinary was coming. Then, without warning, a shimmer of light appeared near the edge of town. At first it looked like a strange cloud, but it moved with purpose. It descended slowly, hovering above a grassy field at the outskirts. No one heard the sound, though a few felt a faint hum in their chest. From the glowing shape, a figure emerged. She was tall, taller than any human, her form elegant and calm. Her skin shimmered faintly like the surface of water under sunlight, and her eyes glowed softly, reflecting the colors of the sky. She stepped forward, and small holographic shapes floated around her, flowers, stars, and gentle waves of light that hovered like tiny guardians. This was Lyria, the last of her kind capable of continuing her species, and she had come to Earth with a mission. She had been searching for 3 years across the galaxy. Many worlds had rejected her or proved unsuitable. She needed a human, someone kind, brave, and selfless. Her species was fragile now, almost extinct, and her mission was not just personal, it was survival itself. She could not rush it, yet time was her enemy. Her first step into the town caused panic. People screamed and ran, unsure what to make of the towering figure. Cars swerved, phones were lifted, and news cameras began to broadcast the image of the glowing visitor. Lyria did not panic. She understood their fear. She raised her hand slowly, projecting a soft light that was meant to calm, not harm. Some people froze, mesmerized, while others simply fled. Her mission was simple: knock on every human door, speak, observe, and learn. She had to find the right one, and there was no shortcut. In the beginning, it was difficult. Many humans slammed their doors, shouted at her, or mocked her appearance. Children were curious but cautious, peeking from windows, whispering to each other about the lady in the light. Lyria never showed anger. She understood that fear was natural, and patience would carry her further than force ever could. The first door she approached was an old house near the edge of the town. It had peeling paint and a small garden where wildflowers grew untended. She raised her hand and knocked gently. The sound was soft, almost musical, carried not just through the wood but directly into the minds of the people inside. A man in his 50s opened the door, coffee mug in hand. He froze. "Hello," Lyria said, her voice calm and melodic. "I am Lyria. I mean no harm. I seek only one human." The man blinked, unsure if he was dreaming or seeing something real. One human? For what?" "To help my species survive. To walk beside me if you are willing. If you are kind, brave, and selfless, you may be the one I seek." The man laughed nervously, thinking it a joke. "Look, lady, I don't know what you're—" She tilted her head and a small holographic flower appeared in her hand. It smelled faintly sweet. The man stared, suddenly calm. He reached out and touched it. He did not understand why, but something inside him softened. I don't know what to say," he murmured. Lyria smiled faintly, a gesture more human than alien. She left without further words, moving on to the next house. This was how her days went. Door after door, street after street. She helped a lost child find their parents, healed a man's broken arm with a touch, and even restored a withering plant for an elderly woman who had almost given up hope. Slowly, whispers of the alien who knocked on doors spread across the town. Some called her a miracle, others, a ghost. Months passed, and she learned much about humans. They were capable of great cruelty, yes, but also incredible kindness. She saw people risking their lives for strangers, feeding the hungry and inventing ways to make the world better. Each act was a lesson, a reason to believe that her species' survival might still be possible through humanity. One rainy afternoon, she came across a small apartment building. A young man named Alex was inside, sitting quietly on a worn sofa, reading a book. He was different from the others she had met. There was no fear in his eyes, no judgment in his voice. When she knocked on his door, he opened it slowly and simply said, "Can I help you?" "Yes," Lyria replied. "I seek one human who can walk beside me, who can show courage, kindness, and selflessness. Many have refused. Many are not ready." Alex studied her carefully. "And you think that human could be me?" "I do not know," she said honestly. "I can only observe and learn." He nodded, understanding. "Then let's begin." Over. The next days, Alex became her companion. Though he did not know the full weight of her mission, he helped her understand humans more deeply, introducing her to acts of ordinary kindness, like helping neighbors with groceries, comforting frightened children, and volunteering at shelters. Lyria, in return, shared pieces of her world, holograms of her home planet, images of her people, and stories of their culture and struggles. Alex listened with awe, realizing the enormity of what she carried. Then, a day came when a child fell from a playground structure. The child's foot was trapped, and panic spread among the nearby parents. Without hesitation, Alex ran forward, lifting the child carefully. Lyria moved beside him, her hands glowing with a gentle light that eased the child's pain and fear. Together they saved the child, and in that moment, Lyria felt something new, a spark of hope. She knew Alex might be the one, but she could not be certain. Her mission required more than a single act of bravery. It required consistency, humility, and the ability to care for others without expectation. Over time, Alex's actions proved these qualities. He helped strangers without hesitation, stood up for those who could not defend themselves, and never sought reward or recognition. Meanwhile, the town had started to change. People whispered of the alien who visited, and slowly fear gave way to curiosity. Some left small gifts for her at doorsteps, flowers, food, even handwritten notes welcoming her. Children drew pictures of her with crayons, showing her towering form with glowing eyes and gentle hands. Humanity, in its own way, was rising to meet her. Even so, not every encounter was positive. Some humans tried to trick her, offering false displays of kindness. Others were outright hostile, throwing objects or shouting threats. Lyria never retaliated. She observed quietly, learning which humans had true hearts and which did not. Her judgment was patient, careful, and unwavering. As the first year passed, she realized something important. Humans were not perfect, but they had potential. Alex embodied that potential in a way she had not seen anywhere else. Yet she continued her search, knocking on doors in distant towns and cities, meeting people of all ages and backgrounds. Some impressed her with courage, others with creativity or wisdom. But only Alex consistently showed selflessness and compassion. By the end of the second year, her presence had become a quiet legend. People no longer feared her. Instead, they began to hope. The alien who knocked on doors, who brought kindness and healing, was a reminder of what humanity could be at its best. News outlets tried to cover her story, but she remained elusive, moving on before crowds could gather. Still, the acts she performed inspired small changes in human behavior. People became more helpful to each other, more patient, more willing to trust. Finally, after nearly 3 years of careful observation, Lyria returned to the town where she had first met Alex. She found him in the same apartment, quietly fixing a broken chair for his elderly neighbor. He looked up when she entered, a small smile on his face. "You came back," he said simply. "I have come to learn more," she replied, "and to see if your heart remains true." He nodded. "It is." Together they walked through the town, visiting those she had helped before. Each encounter reminded her of humanity's strengths, its courage, creativity, and kindness. She saw the same qualities in Alex, now confirmed through years of observation and experience. At night, she looked at him and considered the weight of what she must do next. Her mission was almost complete. She had found someone who could carry her species forward, someone worthy of trust and partnership. But she also knew the final step was delicate. Choosing him meant revealing the full truth of her biology and mission, a truth that might frighten him. For now, she remained silent, letting the night stretch around them. The stars above seemed to shimmer in response to her presence, and the town slept peacefully, unaware that the future of an entire species rested in the hands of one human and one alien who had learned to trust each other. In the quiet of the night, Lyria touched the edge of the apartment doorframe. A small, glowing flower appeared in her hand. She gave it to Alex without words. He took it, understanding without needing explanation. Sometimes, connection spoke louder than speech. And so, after 3 years of knocking, observing, and learning, she had come closer than ever to completing her mission. The question remained, would humanity rise to the occasion when the time came to prove itself in the universe? And would Alex, quiet, kind, and brave, be the one to walk with her into the unknown future? The answer would come soon. But for now, the alien mother had found hope in a human heart, and that hope was enough to continue the journey. The night was quiet, but Lyria's mind was alive with thought. She had traveled across countless worlds, observed hundreds of humans, yet none had shown the consistent courage and kindness that Alex had. He was not perfect, but his heart was pure, and that was what mattered. Her species' survival depended on finding someone like him. Morning came slowly, painting the town in soft gold. Alex was already awake, tending to the small garden outside his apartment. He hummed a tune she did not recognize, yet it was soothing. Lyria watched him quietly, noting the ease with which he moved, how he treated even the smallest living things with care. A bird landed nearby, and Alex spoke softly to it before scattering seeds. Lyria's glowing eyes reflected admiration. Humans could be extraordinary when guided by empathy. "Alex," she said, her voice breaking the calm air, "there is a choice to be made, one that will determine the future of my people." Alex looked up, calm but attentive. "I understand," he said. "I've been waiting for this moment." Lyria explained what his role would be. She told him about her species' near extinction, the delicate biology that made them incapable of reproducing without a compatible partner, and the importance of courage, selflessness, and compassion in carrying their legacy forward. She showed him images of her home planet, cities abandoned, forests overgrown, rivers dried, and the faces of those who had once lived there. Alex's expression remained steady, though a small flicker of sadness crossed his eyes. "I won't lie," he said finally. "This is a lot to take in, but I've learned from you, Lyria. I've seen the way humans can rise to challenges, the way they care for others without thinking of themselves. If this is what must be done, then I will help. Not because I'm the strongest or the smartest, but because it is right." Lyria felt a warmth in her chest that she did not fully understand. Humans spoke of emotions like love, hope, and courage, yet she had never experienced them so fully herself. This was different. Alex's choice was genuine, and in that sincerity she saw the survival of her species. Their days became a mixture of preparation and teaching. Lyria introduced Alex to the subtle rituals of her people, the careful procedures necessary to ensure her species could reproduce safely. Alex asked questions, not out of curiosity alone, but because he wanted to understand, to honor the responsibility he was about to undertake. Lyria found this remarkable. She had witnessed humans act recklessly at times, but Alex approached each challenge with thoughtfulness and care. Meanwhile, the town had grown accustomed to Lyria's presence. People no longer feared her. They welcomed her acts of kindness. Children waved from windows. Elderly neighbors brought her small gifts of thanks, and townsfolk often paused to observe the alien and human walking together, quietly performing acts of good wherever they could. Through these simple interactions, humanity's best qualities were highlighted. Alex and Lyria had become symbols, not of power but of hope and courage. One day, as they walked through the town square, a sudden commotion erupted. A group of children had wandered too close to the river, which had swollen after a heavy rain. The current was strong and panic spread. Lyria moved quickly, floating above the river with her light glowing brightly. Alex ran along the bank, calling to the children, guiding them toward safety. Working together, they managed to pull all the children to solid ground. Parents rushed forward, their expressions a mix of fear and relief. Lyria turned to Alex and he simply nodded. No words were needed. The act itself spoke volumes. Humanity's courage, combined with empathy and quick action, had saved lives. In that moment, Lyria understood more than ever why she had come to this planet. Humans were capable of greatness. The final test was approaching. Lyria's species required more than kindness or bravery. They needed a partner who could embrace the unknown without fear, who could face challenges selflessly, and who could trust her completely. Alex had shown these qualities repeatedly, yet she needed to confirm his willingness fully. She led him to a field outside town where the stars were bright and clear. "This is where we must begin," she said. "There is a ritual that must be performed, a demonstration of trust and unity. It will not harm you, but it will require you to face the unknown." Alex nodded, calm but focused. "I am ready." The ritual was not what he expected. Lyria asked him to close his eyes and reach out into the darkness. He felt a strange energy, warm and electric, coursing through the air around him. He could hear the faint hum of the universe, as if every star was singing in quiet harmony. Fear tried to rise in his chest, but he reminded himself of the children at the river, of every act of kindness he had performed, and of the responsibility he had accepted. He stayed steady. Lyria guided him through each step, her voice soft, encouraging, and full of trust. Alex mirrored her movements instinctively, feeling the connection grow stronger with each moment. When the ritual ended, he opened his eyes to see a faint glow surrounding them both, a sign that the bond had been accepted. Lyria's species would survive not through force or domination, but because one human had proven his worth through courage, selflessness, and empathy. "Alex," she said softly, her glowing eyes meeting his. "You are the one. My people will continue because of you." He smiled faintly. "It was never about me. It was about doing what was right." Together they returned to the town. Word had spread that the alien mother had chosen a human. People gathered, curious but respectful. Lyria spoke to the crowd, her voice echoing softly. "This is not about power. It is about trust, courage, and the kindness that lies within every human heart. The human beside me has shown that greatness is not measured by strength, but by the ability to care for others and face the unknown without fear." The crowd listened in awe. Children whispered to each other about the hero who had helped an alien mother save her species. Adults looked at one another, realizing the truth in her words. Humanity had value, not because of technology or weapons, but because of character, compassion, and courage. Lyria and Alex spent the next days preparing for departure. The townspeople offered gifts, farewells, and blessings. Alex carried a small bag, but he knew that he was leaving with more than belongings. He carried the hopes of an entire species and the responsibility to honor that trust. On the final night, Lyria and Alex stood together on the hill overlooking the town. The stars above seemed to shine brighter than ever. "Do you feel afraid?" Lyria asked quietly. Alex shook his head. "No, I feel it ready. Not because I know what comes next, but because I trust in what I've learned here. And I trust in you." She extended her hand and he took it without hesitation. In that moment, something shifted, a bond not just of duty but of understanding and mutual respect. The alien mother and the human would face the future together, carrying hope across the stars. The town watched as the ship descended, quiet and majestic. Children waved, adults nodded, and for a brief moment the universe seemed smaller, closer, filled with possibilities. Humanity had proven itself worthy of recognition not through conquest, but through character. As they lifted off, Alex looked back at the homes, streets, and people who had welcomed Lyria despite fear and uncertainty. He thought of the countless acts of kindness he had witnessed, small and large, and he knew that humanity could rise to any challenge. Lyria smiled beside him, understanding that her mission was not just complete, but fulfilled in a way that honored her species and theirs. In the silent hum of the ship, she touched his arm lightly. "The future is ours to shape," she said. "Together." "Yes," he replied. "Together." The stars stretched endlessly before them, and for the first time, Lyria felt hope not as a distant concept, but as a living truth. She had found the one human capable of walking beside her, and in him she saw the reflection of everything good, brave, and kind that humanity could offer. The journey ahead would not be easy, but with courage, empathy, and trust, they would face whatever the universe held. And so, the alien mother and the human ventured into the unknown, leaving behind a world that had shown them both that the smallest acts of kindness could ripple across the stars, changing destinies, shaping futures, and proving that humanity was capable of greatness. For 3 years, she had knocked on every human door, and at last, the one she had sought so tirelessly had answered. not just with words but with heart, courage, and action. The universe had watched, and humanity had risen to meet the challenge. The stars welcomed them, and the future was bright.